Months later, I caught my first felony and found myself in the crip module and eventually the California prison system for a few years. It was said that sometime after that, and right before the homie Ghost ended up in the California prison system, him and a couple of other homies somehow managed to link up with a couple of guys from the other side, from the north side. Yeah, the north side of Inglewood. None other than the guy, Big Dulo, Inglewood, neighborhood Pyru, rest in peace. Like I said a minute ago, by then, I was already in the Linwood Crip module, 2200, Pod 1, on my way to prison for the first time. It was said back then, Big Dulo had a crew of young soldiers, some his age and some younger. So somehow his crew and the homie Ghost crew combined forces. I'm talking about way back when the water was real wet. You could catch certain homies dipping, tripping, and cripping, and sometimes slipping. It was also said that back then, at that time, the homie Ghost would have Big Dulo and several other neighborhood Pyrus in the set, on the block, flamed up, hanging out. And the same thing was going on over there on the north side. The homie Ghost and a couple of other homies would be over there on the north, cripped up, blue rag down, hanging with the Pyrus at Rogers. But see, back then, at that time, although that particular movement was in good faith, not all the Inglewood Legend Crips and not all the Inglewood neighborhood Pyrus was fully committed and with it. Like it was said that one day, a few homies was outside, on the block, when a 4 or 5 car caravan hit the corner. Music blasted, gang signs and 2 different color rags hanging out the window, blue and red. And all of a sudden, the caravan stopped, and the music stopped. As a matter of fact, the whole block stopped. Time stopped. One of the other homies said he looked up and couldn't believe what he was looking at. A car door opened up and the homie Ghost jumped out, cripped up. Then Big Dulo jumped out, flamed up. No shirt, white chucks, red strings, and burgundy khakis. But it was said that once one of the homies came out from the back with a chopper, a couple of words was exchanged, but no shots fired. And the caravan drove off, hit a corner, cut about. Now, if you remember a minute ago, I said although that movement was in good faith, not all the LCGs and not all the I.NHPs was fully with it. But it was definitely respected by some on both sides. Real talk. Fast forward just a bit, yard time.
Yeah, just to verify what Inglewood Legend was saying about the neighborhood Pyrus and the LCGs visiting each other's turf, homie. And like I said, even though it probably could have been for good reasons, it just wasn't the right season, homie. And what I mean by the right season is at that present time, leading up into the late 90s, we was at a verbal argument uproar with the homies from Inglewood Crenshaw Mafia, homie. So when it really hit the table and we really evaluated the situation, we seen that probably wouldn't have been a good look for our YGG-rism with this blood thing and our alliance with the B, even though 2 B cars wasn't seeing eye to eye. So anyway, homie, another reason why the homies really was skeptical about the movement is because months prior to this, leading up to going to each other's turfs, visiting one another, the homies had a walking, bussing altercation, allegedly, in the hood. And this take place at a burger stand called Fabulous inside our turf on Centinela. And as the homies had ordered their food, few burgers, couple bags of fries and soft drinks, and set out on foot, backbelling through the turf, a car rolled up allegedly and hit the homeboys up with that LCG light. In the midst of that, somebody sprung up out the backseat of a car, allegedly, and bust some rounds at the homies. Bow, 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 bow. In the mix of that, the homies had dropped their food, and one of the homies was able to retreat and bust back. Blocka, 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 blocka. In the midst of that, one of the homeboys had got a big old hole blew through his arm. The homies was able to hit multiple cuts and get away from that scene. And back in the days at that time, if you was a reputable homeboy and it was 911, you can get up on a homeboy mama front porch or father front porch, knock on the door, and get assisted, homie, with medical attention or help. So anyway, at these times, the homies is coming up off of hostility with these legend Crips and rolling 60s. And not just only the neighborhood Pyrus have hostility with these dudes, also the Queen Street Bloods and the Inglewood families also have beef and hostility with the legend Crips. So anyway, to speed up into time on how we really landed up getting over there, this particular day, homie, I got a spot in the turf. And at my hood spot, homie, I used to let the young homeboys hang out there because these was young homeboys of my little homeboy peer, which is PIP, Lil G Pint Deuce from Neighborhood Pyro. So at these particular times, homie, we had Lil Grizz from 9-4 family in the spot with us. We had a D-Mac from 9-4 Inglewood family in the spot with us, along with some more neighborhood Pyrus that I used to just keep at the spot hanging out. So one day a smoker come to the spot, homie, and come get at me and to take care of his business. So in the midst of that, he asked me, am I aware of what's going on in the front of the apartment? So I asked him, man, what you mean what's going on in the front of the apartment? So I go to look out the window. So he tell me, by looking out the window, you might not get a good visual because it's kind of farther down the way. So I asked him again, man, what's cracking? He said, man, you know your homeboy Dulo with the long hair, that's crazy. He's out there with a few of your homeboys with a few more Crips. Now, smokers that be in these hood communities, they fully aware of Crippin' and blooding. So he do know what he's talking about. So I tell the young homeboys inside the spot, let's get ready, arm up, let's go out here and see what's going on. So me thinking strategically, I throw Lil Grizz from 9-4 family in the cut where he get a good visual just in case something go down. He can do his thing to protect the homeboys. I see D-Mac, Lil G half out, another interest. As they make their way, I make my way out with a couple more homeboys belling fast like Tupac in the MGM scene before they got cracking. So I'm pumaed up, overall pants, long sleeve, 4 long plaits, one twisted up at the top. So I bail up, G'd up at that time. I get that big Dulo, the big homie, like, blood, what's cracking? What's up with all this, homie? Is everything good? And this is the dialogue that we're using still at that time of banging, homie. So as I get at the homeboy, like, blood, what's cracking? What's up with all this? You know these dudes, is everything good, homie? And at that time, homie, the homie was worldwide with this banging, homie, with this B and this P banging thing. So the homie be making communication skills and ties with different turfs faster than the homeboys could make them. That's just how his legacy was, homie. And if he was alive right now and had social media, he'd have a blue check behind his name for just as how he get down in this heroism and this beat off thing, homie. And so anyway, to dive into the story some more as I get at the homeboy, like, blood, what's up with all this? And I'm talking to a few legends that I got history with from juvenile hall belling, banging, street banging, and all that, homie. So as I'm getting at them, trying to find out what's good, and they bring me up to speed on that, we trying to get on common ground where we really won't be popping on each other and causing that much static in the city way back then, homie. But like I said, it could have been a good reason, stood for a good reason, but it wasn't the proper season, homie. So at that time, as we turning pages, cutting it up right there, I'm feeling uncomfortable that they even came to the turf like this, homie. So I said, homie, since we having conversation here, are we allowed to go to your turf and pick up on the rest of this conversation, homie? So Ghost and a few more legends say, you know what I'm saying? I don't see why not. But in the same token, I'm feeling skeptical too, because I know Ghost and a few more of them legends for their craftiness and banging, homie. So anyway, dog, I mount the homies up in the car, homie. And at that time, I had a sky blue Maverick. I used to call it the baby Chevy, homie. So I snatched Lil Grizz and them, my young soldiers up out their cuts and all that, put them in the car, homie, and we caravan out, homie. It's probably like 2 carloads of Legends, 2 carloads of NHPs. 1 carload Dulo jump in with a few Legends, homie. So they mixed up Crippin' and Blood in 1 car, homie. And my 2 cars are homies, the straight homies, dog. So we set out and caravan over there, homie. So as we get on La Brea and Arvada, homie, I pull the car over. So a few homies jump out on foot, and I'm one of the ones that jump out on foot, and I throw a homie in my driver's seat, homie. So a few Legends jump out. So now I got a few homies driving cars. The Legends got a few homies driving cars, and we belling through they turf, homie. And Dulo leading the homies like he running for presidency in another turf. And you got the Legend Crips belling through they turf, homie. So as we belling and mobbing crazy, homie, we get some females roll up on us hollering about ugh. So by us being respectful, we didn't diss, but we say back and chunk up neighborhood Pyro and keep the pushing belling, homie. So now in the midst of this, maybe them females go we tip Legend Crips. Legends get to pulling up. Cars, what's happening, cars? Is everything straight? Cars getting that ghosting in from Legend. Cause what's happening? So Ghost informed a few of them. These is neighborhood power rules, Dulo and them, man. We coming to the turf and we coming to, throw some things on the table to see if we all willing and able to kind of save a life or two, homie. This the dialogue at that time, homie. And along with the homies blowing Sherman, them possibly getting money with one another. So anyway, to dive into the story some more, like I said, you got Legend Crips pulling up with straps and everything. So we kind of like, kind of like on the edge, trying to see what's going on. So Dulo like, watch your boy, get your people, telling Ghost, pointing out with Legends just coming out with straps. So Dulo tell one of them dudes, homie, if you bust, homie, we gonna bust too. It's gonna be a gang of dead people out here, homie. So in the midst of that, we kind of get in a light agreement in a nice size football huddle in the middle of the streets, homie. And a couple dudes extend their hands and we meet and greet each other, tell each other our streets names, homie, and kind of like, dialogue with one another a little bit. But like I said, even though it could have been for a good reason, it wasn't a proper season. And on the same, on their behalf at that time, things was at an all-time high. And everybody from these gangs, homie, sometimes don't be on the same accord, homie. And once again, like I said, it could have been for the right reason, but it just wasn't the right season, homie. But sometimes the right seasons could come along later on in the game, because now we able to share these stories on history, on how things was, homie. So 89 on up, G stuff, not G stuff. And to Inglewood Legend, homie, keep sending your history, homie. And I know a lot of your people on your channel, so I'll be sending some good, respectful content periodically, paying homage to the city as well as your peoples, to this lifestyle and this street culture that we live by, homie. You know what I'm saying? Stay grinding, homie. And once again, homie, stay tapped in. 89 on up, G stuff, not G stuff.